To the next session, which is the last session for the day. Do not forget, it's a 3-day event, today, tomorrow, and next tomorrow. The next session is the education session. To join us, our speakers, I would want to introduce our speakers who will be joining us online. The first is Professor Jonathan Moyo, the former Minister of Higher Education, Zimbabwe, who is considered as the core architect of the Access to Information and Protection of Private Act, and also Public Order and Security Act, which are restrictive legislations in Zimbabwe. Also to join us, we have Professor Samuel Edoumiekumo, Vice Chancellor, Niger Delta University, Nigeria, who is also the former chairman, National Universities Commission Accreditation Team, and also the former board member, Center for Education Services, Basic and Pre-Degree Programs, Directorate of Consultancy, Entrepreneurship, Research and Development. We also have AARE Babalola, CON, OFR, SAN, the founder of Babalola University, former Pro-Chancellor of the University of Lagos. He is also the former chairman of all Pro-Chancellors of Nigeria. And also we have Zawadi Sakapalla-Ukondwa, who is also the director of M&R Construction Group Incorporated and founder of Sakapalla Community Center located in Mtoni, Kijiji, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And to moderate this session, I would want to hand over to an economist and financial journalist, Stears Business, whose name is Gbemisola Alonge. Over to you, Gbemisola.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for joining us. My name is Gbemisola Alonge, and we would start this session right away. We already know that the COVID-19 pandemic has had major impacts on the educational system and every other sector in the country. So, for instance, we know that over 99% of the people, of students were out of school as a result of the pandemic. So to start this session, I would like to speak to AARE Babalola to just let us know what the impact of this pandemic has been on schools and on education as a whole in Nigeria.
Good afternoon, everybody, particularly the organizers of this African Congress on African educational crisis, the face of pandemic. I'm particularly grateful to you, the organizers, on this laudable program on Africa's educational crisis in the face of pandemic. Education is power. If 50% of Africans had acquired quality education, we would not have been besieged by most of the economic, political, and social problems facing this country today. Indeed, education is power. It's only quality and functional education that can bestow power on anybody. Quality education is important, and poor education, on the other hand, is synonymous with ignorance. And as we all know, ignorance is a deadly disease. This is the reason why, after my successful 7 years tenure University of Lagos as a Pro-Chancellor, I decided to establish a non-profit university, private university, which would be an example of how a university should be run. When I learned that coronavirus had started in Wuhan, China, early in the year, I suspected that it could spread throughout the world like smallpox in 1492, yellow fever in 1793, cholera in 1817, measles in 1875, malaria in 1880, polio in 1916, and influenza in 1953. And what did I learn from all that? I learned from history of pandemics that the best way to deal with it was to prevent any carrier from entering our university. We went ahead and manufactured sanitizers, distributed them among all our students, provided soap and water to students, and most importantly, it prevented visitors from entering our university. Harvard, as you all know, is reputed for academic calendar, which is repeatable, and which runs from early September to early June annually. We have never defaulted since year 2010 when we started this institution. We quickly rearranged our programs to enable us complete 2019-2020 session in early June. Unfortunately, on the 23rd of March 2020, when the government ordered all schools to close down, we had only 7 weeks to complete the session in early June. Of course, we had no alternative but to obey the government and close down the schools. At that time, it was a very, very painful development. Students were unhappy. Parents were unhappy. The schools were closed down. This is more so in that students were widening up their syllabus for preparing for the final examination. That was the first impact. Next one was that we were impacted with financial and economic hardship. You know, we pay salaries to maintain the institution. Matter of fact, we pay almost 100 million every month. There was no way we could carry out this without the school resuming again. What we knew was that many institutions, public and private, were unable to meet their monthly outcome. In our university, we continued to pay all our staff. But in the 5th month, it became very difficult. And so we called a meeting of our staff. We tried to lay off some non-essential members of staff. Another serious impact was on teaching and including all relevant parts of academics. This was a serious one. We were unhappy that students had to leave at that stage. And we met. We tried everything possible to ensure that students did not waste away. Mock examination was conducted for a week between July 21 and 29. After we had carried out revision for about 3 weeks. The second semester examination was conducted between August 10 and August 28. Post-UTM screening was done online. The next impact was effect on education itself. My first worry was how to preserve the quality and functional education for which Zawadi is known. We use the best technology for remote supervision of our examination. We also put in place student and staff feedback mechanism to preserve and evaluate the quality of teaching, learning, and examination. These were what we had to do as a result of the serious impacts of COVID-19 on education.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for that, sir. So you mentioned that one of the impacts that the school or the educational system in general faced was the fact that students had to go home. The federal government had announced lockdowns that mandated people to go home. So I'd like to find out from Professor, I think he has dropped off, Professor Edoumiekumo. Okay. While we wait for him to rejoin, Mrs. Zawadi, please, can you let us know what your experience has been sort of creating room for, okay, he's back. So Professor Edoumiekumo, please tell us how what the impact of the pandemic was on your university. Prior to the pandemic, some universities in Nigeria, for instance, were already on strike. So students in such universities had already been set back by some months. So what additional impact did the COVID pandemic and being away from school have? Babalola had already mentioned that some schools were able to go on with examinations and even graduations as usual. Was this the case for your university, and what impact did you face?
Thank you very much, Gbemisola. Let me respectfully thank the organizers and very reverse shift making way for us the education sector in this country. For us in Niger Delta University, we were even thinking that we'll be able to conclude the examination before even the heat of this pandemic. But we received, just like we received a circular from our regulators, the National University Commission, ordering us to close down our institutions, and which we obeyed. Actually, that affected us. At the moment, we've not been able to conclude the fourth semester. But we were supposed to round off academic session for 2019-2020 in August this year. But because of this pandemic, it is now really affecting us. Of course, though we are public institutions, that we are being financed by our respective proprietors like government and all that. But for some of us, it's like private sector driven. The model we are using, because our government will want us to us for money. And so decided to place subvention, a kind of grant to the institution. And then you, as the vice chancellor and the management of the institution, will now source for the rest. That's what we have been doing right from 1st of January 2018 till date. So the government will just provide some amount of money, which may not even be up to the amount for the payment of staff salary. And then talking about the running costs of the institution, of course, running a university is very, very costly, very, very costly. And the universities are not organized for profit making. They are not. And so it becomes very difficult for you to now, for public institutions, you now start to model them into a kind of business-like organization. So, and that's what we are doing now, because we have, it is clear, it is very difficult for us now from the public, now remodeling the institution into a private sector like organization. But by the grace of God, we've been able to stabilize the system. And this pandemic has really affected us because now, even if you close the school, you will not totally close the entire university. The system will still be working. You talk about the administration. You must allow some of this lab equipment to even be on. Power will be ready for example, when there is no national grid, in Nile University, we have 20 hours power supply, born in December. 20 hours, you know, there is no month that passes that we don't spend about 35 million on diesel. That's to tell you the cost. That's only diesel alone. And during the night, you need to secure the environment. So the power will be on for security reasons and the rest. So this pandemic has really affected Niger Delta University. For the students, they have said totally they are losing a session now. Because when we come back, even though we have this ASU strike, by the time we would have thought, you are talking about starting afresh before you go into the second semester. You've gone into the mid of next year again, if we assume that ASU will suspend their strike, even now. We are talking about mid of next year and concluding 2019.
I think we lost him there.
Are you with me?
Yes, so we lost you for a few minutes there. But I would like to ask Mrs. Zawadi a question now. I know that you deal with students that are out of school and just children in general through your community centers. And according to the United Nations, Sub-Saharan Africa alone has 47% of the 258 million children that are out of school. So what did you have to do differently to reduce the impact of children being out of school during the COVID-19?
It's not clear. Sorry. Hello, I didn't get you clear, yeah. Hello?
Okay.
Congress for an invitation. It is wonderful to hear from fellow panelists, and thank you all for listening. First, I would like us to remember that this pandemic affected not only African continent, but globally. According to UNESCO, about 192 countries had closed schools and universities, and then 90% of the world learners were unable to attend schools. And this is about 1.6 billion children and young people. So what were the responses during pandemic? Just to give a little bit of background, as I mentioned before, our center is located in Mtoni Kijichi in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, in East Africa, with the mission of promoting and providing social and educational activity to our community. Also, the center is surrounded or catered with the 5 primary schools and 1 high school. And during the pandemic, we followed Tanzanian government guidelines. And if you remember that Tanzania didn't impose lockdown, meaning that rather we'll ask people to wear masks, make sure they have hand washed, they follow the guidelines. And however, the primary school were closed and secondary school in the mid-March to June of this year. So it's about 90 days students were out of schools. As a community center, we provided after-school programs to cater those students. So what we did that since the schools were closed, we decided to give a material to the students via their parents. And the mode first we thought about to give through WhatsApp group, and quickly realized that not every parents have access to smartphone. So we have to change the plan now to print those education material and to hand delivery to all our students that attended our community center. We also made available for phones to our teachers. So just in case if the parents have any question or don't understand how to operate with their students, so there'll be the teacher were available for the parents to access them. And as a community center, we paid our teacher the same as the government of Tanzania. They had paid to all the teachers during the school closure. There were a couple of measures that students, specifically for primary and secondary schools in Tanzania, were learned during the pandemic. Some organizations like a Shule Direct, they offer their platform for education material content, so students can access for free. And other kind of like phone provider companies like Vodacom, they also offer free internet usage to students, and also partner with another organization for them to be able to deliver the education during the pandemic. And I'll stop from here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Zawadi. So she touched a bit on the use of technology to continue education while students were out of school. So I'd like to ask Professor Edoumiekumo for just like a minute or two. Was your school able to leverage technology during the pandemic, and how were you able to reach out to students who were unable to afford to come online or to log into the school learning platforms? Professor Edoumiekumo, did you hear me? Oh, I think we lost him again. Okay, so while we wait for him, I'd like to also ask AARE Babalola the same or a similar question. What role does technology play in improving education in Nigeria and Africa, particularly, so technology and soft skills? So what kind of skills like critical thinking and problem solving, what role does technology and these skills play in improving education and human capital development in Africa?
Well, the whole purpose of education is to develop human faculty in such a way that it would be useful to the community. Our university went out of its way to ensure that we improve the quality of and functionality of education in our university, and make sure that when they pass out of the university, they're able to contribute to human development. As former Chancellor, I knew and I found as a father that we have failed massively to make our students in this country develop that aspect of life. You see, when students come out of university, they go to their parents. Mommy, Daddy, I have certificate. I want employment. So you see them roaming about the streets because there's no employment in them. I assure you that we have succeeded in large measure in changing that attitude to life in that university. As I said, we believe in quality and functional education. Students are taught how to deepen their soft skills in the areas of time management, team building, critical thinking, problem solving, and communication skills. Our College of SMS has collaborative arrangement with the leading television in this part of the world, the Chinese television, to train our students on the rudiments of public speaking skill, speech writing skill, and communication skill. You must be as solid as I am about reading culture in Nigeria. If you go in a bus or a train in London, you see virtually everybody holding a book or newspaper, reading. Unfortunately, in public universities, this is not, that culture is virtually gone. So in my university, we sit on evening classes from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. for students and teachers. It is compulsory for every student in our university to learn 2 foreign languages, French and Chinese. Actually, we have found that learning foreign language has made our products more marketable. We have to position education for better human capital development. Every student in our university must also learn at least one skill out of 28 skills in the university at no extra cost. The 21st university is ready to use modern information technology, that is IT, infrastructure, for learning, teaching, research, and self-studying, as well as establishing electronic library. With pride, I must say that our university was the first to use electronic board and interactive teaching. And board has e-book and e-journal with up-to-date currency. Like it's expected, in modern universities, it's better to have a data center running on a very strong broadband internet to support its learning management system. Staff and students must train periodically in order to improve their digital literacy skill.
Right, sir. Thank you very much for that.
No, I haven't finished. I have a little more if there's time.
We're a bit out
No?
of time for now.
Yes,
Sir.
okay. Register Institute of Arbitration, which I'm the chairman or the president. By the time they come out of university, most of them are already members of the Institute of Arbitration, which again make them more marketable. If you are studying nursing at my university, you register for BSc nursing. But when you are going home, you must go home with registered nurse, RN, registered midwife, RN, registered public health nursing, RP, HN. And those who register for accounting go home with not the BSc for we register for. They will also go home with certificate of Institute of Chartered Accounts, Nigeria, ICANN, Federal Institute of Bankers, CIBN, National Institute of Marketing, NIMN, and ISMN. To register for BSc Peace and Conflict Studies, or BSc International Relations, or BSc Political Science, or BSc Intellectual Intelligence and Security Studies, you go home with as many certificates as possible, including certificates of Society for Peace Studies, SPSP, Society of Chartered Mediators and Coordination, ICMC, Martin Luther Agwan International Leadership and Peace Center, and of course, community engagement and academic CE, and so on and so forth.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
So I'd like to know from Professor Edoumiekumo, I know that your university also attempts to leverage on technical skills. So AARE Babalola has just run us through a couple of soft skills and extra certification that students of Babalola University gain in order to give them leverage in the labor market. So what sort of skills does your university, especially technical skills, what sort of technical skills do you provide or offer your university students to give them an edge in the workspace or in life in general?
Thank you very much, Shola. You see, for us in Niger Delta University, we have positioned our university to providing products. What I'm talking about product, I'm talking about our students who are graduated from NDU in Niger Delta University. For the world, we are not producing just for Nigeria, for the world, and then the ability to make ends meet after graduation. And so what we have decided to do in Niger Delta University is that no student will graduate from Niger Delta University without having a skill, a particular trade, and that will be certified by the Entrepreneurship Center. And so whether you are reading medicine, you are reading theater arts, you are reading accounting or any course in university, you graduate with a particular trade, a particular skill. That's incorporated. And we leverage on that because NUC said universities can own up 30% of courses, they raise 70%. And so we have to incorporate within that 30% that was given to us, this kind of skills we are talking about in every field. For example, somebody who read accounting, who was in education, a lady passing through the skill acquisition center, came up to say that she should now be addressed as an engineer. Somebody that good area, not having this technical knowledge in working on electricity. That's what we have decided to do. We are blending academics together with entrepreneurship. And in fact, no student university without having courses in entrepreneurship. Because you know, entrepreneurship is also different from skill acquisition. Your ability, that's why under factors of production, as you an economist, we will tell you that there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. But the entrepreneur will always make use of in fact, inculcate culture in them so that they will be able to manage the skill they have. For in medical area for now, I think we are one of the best institutions because we expose our students to simulating machines. This issue of cadaver and all that, whatever, we've been able to, in fact, one of the first public institutions in this country, Nigeria, that has such technology now, trained by the manufacturers from US and all that. So for us, we are really set for the world. And not only that, even those in, for example, in management science, in social science, all that, because of this internship issue, we don't want our students to just get only the theoretical part of it and then go and face the labor market without having the required skill. So what we do, this internship program we are talking about is also incorporated into the system such that they will be exposed. For example, you are reading economics and you are talking about the financial world. In your year 3, what you do now is, in the long vac, you are posted to all these institutions, banks, CBN, and all that, to get the practical workings of the economy into the ministry, budgets, and the rest. So by the time they return, they have that skill. And when they are leaving the university, that skill is with them. So if you employ them, they don't need to be trained further. So within the university system, they acquire all these skills. That's what we do in Nigeria, irrespective of the course you are reading. This industry university relationship is key. For us in the engineering, it's not compulsory. You must have to show that, yes, you are really an engineer. You produce something that is meaningful. For example, a young man just came up and produced a refrigerator without using a compressor. That's from Niger Delta University. And they are working on this air conditioner without using a compressor. So that's the kind of innovation. So we are pushing our students. That's one thing that recently, because of our terrain, we have all this muddy soil, the water log area with all this kind of water essence and all that. Our PhD student was able to come up with what we call airboats. This time around, you are no longer using the outboard engine. The propeller would not be down the water. So, but you use air to propel the boat. On the water, the boat will move. In the muddy soil, the boat will move. And on the sandy soil, the boat will also move. These are discoveries, and we want to ensure that for Niger Delta University, we will always be at the top, ensuring that technology-wise, we will expose our students to have that, so that we change the narrative. We change the narrative that universities are only for theory. It's not true. For Niger Delta University, it's not true. We have incorporated that.
Right,
for example, those in mass communication, they have the practical, we have the studio. We have a radio frequency given to us, FM. We have it 98.1, Glory Land, Wilberforce Island. So our students go in there. And what happened is that all these things I'm talking about, they are homegrown. We use our own students, employ our own students in running all these things we are talking about. The person who is manning the radio station is a product of Niger Delta University. And then all working there, they're all products of Niger Delta University. And so at every point in time, we see that we provide quality education for our own students in Niger Delta University.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, the quality of universities is measured by the products of such universities, which is the graduates.
Yes.
If they're able to work well in the labor force and just in life in general, then the university has done well. One other impact of COVID-19 on the world in general is that governments had less to spend on education and on different aspects of life. So, for instance, in university, in Nigeria rather, we saw the Universal Basic Education Fund reduced by 60 billion naira because it's funded by the Federation account. And when the government isn't making as much money as it expects, obviously the fund would reduce, or the proportion of money that goes to the fund would reduce. So how can we, I'm going to ask Mrs. Zawadi this question now. What sorts of skills do you think that we need to focus on or prioritize at this time? Because the government would not, currently might not be able to afford education as we know it. So how can we ensure that if we're revamping education across the continent, how can we ensure that we're focusing on the most important skills, and what are these skills that can make us, if possible, even reduce the number of years that people spend in school, and they can still come out and be relevant in the world that we live in today?
Yes, so And I was so impressed by previous panelists talking about Niger Delta and how their students they come out. So I think the most, I would say there are common skills which are important to learn, regardless of your geographical location. Skills like prepare students, especially youth, because by the time they get to university, they've already they had to have the foundation. So I think that skills that are really needed for the future job, for job of today, and also for the job of the future. If we can prepare our students with and the youth, that will be more helpful. Things like to ensure education curriculum or syllabus that are emphasized on STEM, and I meant to say STEM as science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. Those are subjects, and particularly for girls, because those are critical thinking kind of subjects, creativity, and also will be able to function in any other industry when they go. And for example, at Sakapalla Community Center, we usually offer science camp twice a year in primary for the secondary school student and primary school students. And the reason being that by the time most of the kids they don't experience science until they get to high school, given that a specific example for Tanzania. So if you expose them with science at a young age, it's easy for them to learn, and also kind of knowing science is like any other subject, kind of prepare them at that young age. And another thing is with this STEM training results on the next generation of innovator, like the one of from Niger Delta University mentioned, but also will help policymakers. Also students will be our future policymaker and the future entrepreneurs. Another skills I think is to invest in digital and computer skills. According to the World Bank, they were given that in a low income country, is only 10% of the children have internet access at home. And only 20% of schools are connected. And the gap is even wider in underserved communities, like in rural areas. So if we invest in a digital and computer skill, will give young people adequate tools to enter into large labor market, and also to design their homegrown and entrepreneur solution, like the ones they mentioned that you have refrigerator without a compressor. So those are kind of things, skills if we embedded at young age, and only will be possible if we expose them to the computer skills, and also as a government to invest on in the digital. And the digital skills really will help to overcome the digital divide, and especially exposed during the pandemic. Some students were unable to listen to their regular class they require maybe by radio or TV because they don't have that. So investing on that and exposure, that will be more helpful. And two quickly things I would say that if we can provide a quality technical and vocational training throughout the schools, like in our community center, we offer vocational training, like teaching how to sew, because not every student will be able to pass to go to university. So what you do to those who are unable to attend university. So if we can focus on providing those technical skills, they'll be able to better their life, to help their family, just to expose it. And then the last, to just instill the culture of lifelong learning. Learning doesn't start from when you're in university, when you're school. Just you can start from kindergarten. On our community center, we offer kindergarten school education. We have a library that the students can go there and read. And those our library is stacked with the textbooks that follow Tanzanian syllabus, meaning the students can wanna read something that they will be able to use it, apply at your regular schools. Let's say they have to do exam. So those are kind of things that will give a youth a way to recognize the opportunity and also enhance their skill through by creating the culture of life learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Zawadi. We're already behind schedule, so I'll just take 1 minute, so just 1 minute each for us to close up this session. So Professor Edomiekumo, I would ask you first, where do you see education in Africa in the next 5 years? In 1 minute, please.
Shola, let me tell you that for me to talk just on this for 1 minute is not going to be possible. But I will summarize by saying that we just have to embrace, like as our sister said, we just need to embrace digital. Let's embrace digital education. This analog lifestyle has to stop. Even if we talk about access to education, and if we decide to embrace digital educational system, you'll be surprised that nearly all of us who are struggling to go to.
Oh, I think we lost him there. Oh, this is sad. So just because we have run out of time, I would ask Mrs. Zawadi as well. What do you think, how far do you think we are to get into this level where we adopt STEM skills and adopt digital education? In 30 seconds, please.
Yes. The fact that African continent have 54 countries with a diverse economy, what works in one country might not necessarily work in another country, but I'll say that collaboration and partnership is a key. Collaboration between teachers, parents, community, government, and non-government organizations, make sure that each student gets the support that they need, no matter where they live. And this pandemic is an opportunity for African countries and policymakers to focus on fixing what was exposed during pandemic and learn the best practice from each other. As a Swahili saying, umoja ni nguvu, meaning that unite is a strength. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And she left us with a Swahili saying there. Thank you. So together we can achieve much more. Collaboration in every sphere of education. Professor Edomiekumo also said that we should adopt digital skills so that we can expand how many people can achieve or get the education that they require at all times. So we would end with AARE Babalola. We would like you to tell us what your plans are to not only educate Nigerians, but educate the rest of Africans.
I've learned over the years that that example is better than precepts. Babalola University has set up an example of how quality education, functional education can be achieved in this part of the world. And I assure you that in the last 1 year, more than 20 universities throughout the country have visited abroad to see how we have achieved what we have achieved already. And why the Nigeria University Commission described our university as a model, a benchmark, and reference point. Even today, I received a call from the secretary to AUC telling me that they are coming to visit university which they regard as a template for education in this country. I have no doubt that this example is working. I have no doubt that it has even gone beyond Nigeria. We have universities from Ghana, from Dahomey, and the Republic coming to see what we are doing here. I think I'm changing the world. Only last month, we had what we call Black History Month celebration by University of London, where they refer to our university as the University of the Next Generation. I have no doubt that private universities established in this mass type of university established by people who do not believe in making profit, who believe in quality and functional education, will emerge in large number. And that all universities will decrease in number because I do not see how they can cope and meet the standard of private universities like us. I have no doubt that if a university like us, which is only 11 years old, has children from all the states in the federation, has children from outside the federation, has other universities from outside Nigeria asking us to mentor them, that this example will work and education will be better. I want to thank you for
Thank you very much.
to my dream of quality and functional education. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. And thank you to everyone that joined us today. So we have heard of the impact of COVID-19 on education. It has stalled things a bit and moved a lot of people who were already behind in terms of literacy and education even further backwards. But based on this panel, we can see that there is hope for the future. So we have to leverage, as our speakers have said, on science, technology, engineering, math, digital sciences, digital facilities to expand the opportunities of education for many students across Africa and creating an example that we want to see in the rest of Africa. We are going to do that and more, and I believe that education would improve. So over to you, Moses.
Well, thank you very much, Gbemisola, and I want to say thank you very much to all our speakers and moderators for the day. Like I earlier on said, it's a 3-day event. This is just day 1. Day 2 will come tomorrow, day 3 the day after. But before we leave, digitalization is key in making sure that education sees the frontier of the future Africa.